Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, maybe I should say. Welcome to Sight Club. It's Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, and also welcome to the Tom Numbers Show. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. So I've got the fabulous I've got the fabulous Janine Morrigeau, and I've got the wonderful Michael Jaco. How are both of you?
I'm good.
Great. Excellent. And maybe a little bit of housekeeping. How can people find you, Janine? You've got the tbj.com.
Yep.
Your website.
So and take also, that in the long form.
Yeah.
TBJ is the short form, just because Tom can't say it on YouTube. And I've got a Rumble show now with Jean-Claude, and I also do lots of work with Beyond Mystic. So the beyondmystic.com. So you can go check that out, or Beyond Mystic. I believe it's on YouTube still.
Yes.
Beyond Mystic 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Excellent. On. We'll put the links below. We'll put that. We'll put your Rumble and your Twitter and everything else. Yeah. Excellent. And how can people find you, Michael? What's your website?
It's michaelkjaco.com. And like Janine, I have my own private site, so you can find it in there. And I subscribe to Janine's site. It's well worth it. So get some good content coming through. Thank you, Janine.
Right.
Excellent. Excellent. And as always, you can make sure you're subscribed to the Tom Numbers Show on YouTube. That's my second channel. And also the main one, Sight Club. You've got the t-shirt here. And we've got a bit of clothing going on now, so you can click the links below. And I'm on Rumble and Telegram, etc. So awesome. All right. Well, let's kick off the show. We're going to go into some stuff on Thanksgiving, but I wanted to start off. I've got a question, an observation and a question. So we spoke last week, Janine, with Rachel, Right So Blonde, and Kathy, Mrs. Handy Are You, and we'll do shows again with them soon in the future. But we were talking about President Trump's address on last Tuesday, so about 9 days ago, which was Tuesday, November 15th. And it was the big announcement from Mar-a-Lago. I'm all excited. And just to refresh people that maybe didn't see that show previously, the numbers on that, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. The phrase 88 miles per hour comes to 282, also comes to Tuesday, November 15th, 282. So I looked at that as a marker. I was like, it's interesting. It's maybe not what we suspected, because it never seems to be, but as you look at it into it further, there's always things that pop up. Yep. So a few days prior to that, Tiffany Trump got married at Mar-a-Lago, and Ivanka her sister has been active on Twitter in the last kind of week or so. She's not done some posts for quite a while prior to that, but recently she started posting. Now, I think it's okay to talk about this because it's on Twitter and it's visual and we can see it, and it's for the whole world to see. So there's a picture of Tiffany and Ivanka just a few days before the wedding. The wedding, I think, took place on the Saturday or the Sunday, and then the announcement took place on the Tuesday. So it's just a couple of days. It's not much. It may have been as early as the Friday. It's either the Friday, the Saturday, or the Sunday. And then Mar-a-Lago announcement was just a couple of days later. Charlie Ward was actually at a dinner banquet the day before the wedding at Mar-a-Lago. So I'm going to show you a picture, and this is what I wanted to talk about. People can see this. They can look at it on Ivanka's Twitter page. But this is the picture of Tiffany at kind of the bridal shower. And that's from Mar-a-Lago, I believe. And Ivanka was next to her. And that's maybe 2 or 3 days before the wedding. And that's who I always recognize as Tiffany Trump. But then fast forward a couple of days later, and this is Tiffany on her wedding day. And to me, she looks very different. And it kind of looks obvious. And it might be clearer for people to have a look. There you go. That's probably clearer for people. So that's the wedding day. And then a few days prior, the bridal shower. So I think they look kind of different myself. I don't know what you guys think about that. But I wanted to check the cards and just see, was Tiffany the one we saw get married? Was she different from the regular Tiffany Trump? And if so, do we have any kind of thoughts or intuitions on why that may be the case?
You got to remember, though, when women get ready for a wedding, like there's a lot of makeup and hair.
Yes. Oh, I know.
There's a lot of makeup and hair. It can really change your look. Yeah. Depending on the makeup artist. So it looks like she had a lot of help getting ready.
She looked a lot different, and she looked a lot even more slender. But have a look, see what the cards think. Maybe it's purely just makeup. Maybe it's just that. Maybe my eyes have been fooled.
I think, before Janine talks, I think there's a bigger picture going on with all that. I think it's revealed before he spoke. So I met Tiffany's mother, Marla Thomas. Very, very beautiful soul. Beautiful
You've
woman.
met Marla? Okay.
Yeah, very beautiful soul. And I think the whole family, because the way she talked and the way she talked about, the family, the whole family is very, very spiritual. So
Marla Maples, yeah. Excellent. And does she have the maiden name? Sorry, go on, Janine.
That's interesting, because I did get a family card, so that's interesting. And I've got, I don't know what her birth sign is, but I've got an air sign woman who's very direct, really smart. And I've got the 6 of Wands, but none of it looks like trickery. So I'm thinking it might have been her, but maybe she was really, trying to look her best. So like the idea of just like makeup and, makeup can do a lot, and hair. So I got a feeling that might have been her. If it wasn't her, it's somebody really close in the family to represent her.
Okay.
But I would agree with Michael Jaco that family's important to her, because it actually came up in the cards.
There you go.
Real tight knit family, it looks like. And then celebration in the past. So there definitely really was a wedding, it looks like. That part looks true. So no trickery cards. So I think if it wasn't her, it was somebody representing her in the family. Maybe just because she couldn't make one of those engagements, but I mean, she would have made a real wedding, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Photographer came in, they sometimes, do a little, photoshopping in some of those pictures. To make it better than they are.
You bet. Especially when they got lots of money like that.
I have never met Tiffany in person, but she's obviously a very beautiful woman. So, I don't see why you would come in and doctor that up, but maybe. Yeah.
Well, people can look and see on Ivanka's Twitter page and just see what they think. But it's interesting that the cards haven't kind of don't seem to be saying anything in that regard. So maybe purely just a very good makeup job. Maybe that's what it was. And maybe my eyes are maybe I thought I saw, maybe a slight difference, but maybe not. So also along that line, also if you go further into Ivanka's Twitter feed, she posted some pictures of her and her family at the pyramids just a few days after the wedding, so that they looked like they were in Egypt, either currently, on a family trip, or maybe she was posting after. But I'm just wondering if there's any information we can get from the cards into why she was posting about the pyramids, because she's quite well known as, a few years ago, she did some photos at the Eiffel Tower, which again is another iconic place in the world. And there's the book about the kind of traveling around the world in 80 days. There's this kind of not comic, but kind of a children's book about racing around the world. And then there's elements of time travel and things like that in it. And Ivanka's wearing the same clothes. So I wondered if there's what is the signaling about her being at the pyramids? Is it just purely a holiday, or is there something else? She was also in Utah as well. She was doing kind of some beautiful caverns and caves, and even this kind of high wire as well, just looked like the week or so beforehand. So I'm just wondering if there's any significance to her posting about going to Egypt, because she's not a regular poster on Twitter.
Seemed to have some kind of message, and it has something to do with her dad. So there was message around or sending a message. This is a message sent, and it's quite subtle. So you probably have to look really closely. Could have even been a lot of comms in there, or what they call signaling, but it has to do with her dad or the position of her dad. There's also some kind of energy around a celebration around the coming of, this could be a good military or a shift to the positive that might be brought on by military.
Okay.
So I think you got to look really close at that one.
It's interesting you say that about the reference to her dad, because I've known for a while the numbers on, I've mentioned it a few times, but if you say the phrase, the pyramids, so just the pyramids, and she's showing a number of the pyramids, that comes to 138, which does come to Donald Trump. So that could have been a direct com. There's also a line in the film Tenet, which I always talk about, which came out in 2020, and it's all about time reversal. I believe it's an indication to how the White Hats have been doing things through time reversal and time travel, etc. But there's a famous line at the end of the film, Kenneth Branagh. He basically says that there's an anonymous, how do I say this? There's an anonymous builder in a pyramid who simultaneously triggers Armageddon and prevents it at the same time. When I heard that a couple of years ago, I always felt that he was referring to the great builder and Trump as a builder. The word building also comes to Kennedy, so it may have been a reference to Kennedy. But it's interesting that you've picked up on the reference to her dad through the cards, because I've mentioned before, but that's a fresh read for you there, Janine. So maybe we could ask, is that line in Tenet, the anonymous builder, is that Trump triggering Armageddon but preventing it at the same time?
Wow. Do you even just saying that makes so much sense to what we've been experiencing and talking about building up towards, right? It's like all of this signaling, it looks like, to some big event that looks like it's Armageddon, but then at the same time seems to save the world somehow. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does. Yeah.
So getting back to the spirituality, basically what I see, if you look at it from a spiritual span, we're in a spiritual battle. So it goes all the way back to Egyptian time. So they're basically taking it back to that point. Remember Obama administration tried to start the Arab Spring. And one of those things that they did was try to take down the Egyptian government and replace it with a very evil group. And eventually people spoke against that one, threw that one out because they saw through it, fortunately, very quickly. Seems not to happen in a lot of countries, unfortunately, but the Egyptians saw it very quickly because the Egyptians are extremely spiritual. If you've ever been to Egypt, oh my God. So they'll look at you and say, yeah, you were here, boom, 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 this is who you were, boom, boom, boom. I was like, what? But and then I had psychics tell me, yeah, you were all these things. So but the Egyptians just know all this stuff. So when I said that King Tut was the son of Akhenaten, and that was not accepted anywhere. And I said it years before they actually, and sometimes when we speak these things, we put the energy out there and it starts to reveal. So that's why what we do here is very important, because we're speaking this out there, we're putting the vibration out there, and we're having these changes, positive changes come where the deep state doesn't want that. They don't want this stuff to come in. They're controlling things, and we're breaking the pattern for them. So that's what happened with that wedding. You could even go into biblical phrases about the wedding, and then Egypt and the steel and stuff like that. So during that Arab Spring, they came in after I had talked about Akhenaten being the father of Tutankhamun. They came in during the Arab Spring when all the rioting was happening, and they came in and stole things from Tutankhamen's the Egyptian Antiquities Museum. So there's things there that are, on a spiritual level that they use to, influence things. So on a bigger spiritual realm, this is a battle between light and dark. And the Trump family is super involved in that. So this is way over a lot of people said, but just look at it, try and look at it from a bigger perspective. I mean, you're looking at Janine's, connection to spirit. She's got that good line of connection. That's why the cards talk so well with Janine. So many of us need to get that connection and break free from this dark side.
Yes.
Wow.
What did you see there? So sorry, go on.
I get a yes. So there's the destruction, but then just in the last minute, maybe a walking away from it. So it might come right to the brink of, and then in the middle, there's the soft yes card. So there's probably a lot more to it, obviously. This was in the past, which is quickly moving to. So I think we're really on the cusp of that. Of course, we've been there for a long time. And here's the Trump card. So I think you nailed it there.
Yeah. Excellent. Good. Thank you. Also, as well with that is, as Michael was speaking, I was looking at that further, and so Tiffany Trump, if you do the numbers on Tiffany Trump, it's 169, which comes to Trump Tower, and it also comes to the Great Awakening. It's also my name, Thomas Bushnell, one way to say it, but it comes to the Great Awakening 169 Trump Tower. And I was there just 2 weeks ago, and there's 17 flags in the foyer, and 17th letter is Q. So they are signaling more and more clearly. But if you do the numbers on, so you talked about, the marriage there, Michael. And so marriage is 72, which is the number, which is first, it's money. President Trump always talked about America first. But it's interesting that it came just a few days prior to this announcement at Mar-a-Lago. And so if you do marriage of comes to 93, which is FLOTUS. It's my last name, Bushnell, but it's FLOTUS, and you had Melania there as well. But if you do marriage of Tiffany Trump, or the marriage of Tiffany Trump, I should say, that comes to 295, which comes to President Donald John Trump. So everything is interlaced. And then it's like, I've been talking about this number 282, 88 miles per hour from Back to the Future for a long time. And the day that they chose it, and I remember when he announced it, and he made reference, he went, November 15th, Tuesday, November 15th. And you do the full value of that, it's 282, 88 miles per hour. And then you got this thing of Elon Musk right now. So back in April, May time, it was first announced that Elon's going to, buy Twitter, and then it kind of fizzled away. And I saw a clip of it again. So President Trump said a few weeks ago, Elon's talking bullshit. He's not going to buy Twitter. That's not going to happen. But then he said, right at the end, he said, he's not going to buy Twitter. But he said, who knows, maybe in the future he might. And he just left that little bit that you probably don't hear at first. But it happened. And the fascinating thing about that is, in the very first Back to the Future film, right at the end, before they go back to 1985, there's a few optics in that film where it's the storm's coming, Doc Brown's on the clock tower trying to connect everything. Marty's almost running out of time. He's rushing to the DeLorean. He swings it around. And just in the background, there's a hotel sign. And it's called the Bluebird Motel. So Bluebird Motel, but it's got the Twitter symbol, the Bluebird. The Twitter symbol is right there. And so people might say, Twitter got its influence from Twitter, from Back to the Future. Or maybe it's the other way around. But if you do the numbers on Bluebird Motel, it equals 138, which equals Donald Trump. It equals Elon Musk Bank. And Elon bought it because he's got a lot of cash. And it also comes to 138, comes to I am Twitter. And then you see, as the DeLorean is turned around and Marty's about to get in there to drive and speed up to 88 miles per hour and do the transition to time travel, there's a line on the road and it says the start. And the start is 111, which is perfection. It's also illusion, but it's also Kennedy magic. And President Trump said at that meeting in Mar-a-Lago, he said, this is it. This is the start. We're going to start now. America coming, making America great again, getting our country back is starting now. So all these reference points and card readings and numbers and intuition that we've been talking about seem to really be coming to this kind of crucible. And it's always different from what we expect or we envisage. But nevertheless, when you do the work back and you see it, everything starts to add up. I don't think it's any coincidence that he chose Tuesday, November 15th, because it equals 282. I don't think it's any coincidence that Tiffany Trump got married just shortly before that, because another thing tying it Back to the Future is the director of Back to the Future is Robert Zemeckis, and his numbers are 169, The Great Awakening, Trump Tower, Tiffany Trump. So everything is interlaced, and I'm just really excited about what's coming. I think it'll be different from what we expect, because it always seems to be, but nevertheless, when we look back and see it, it's a marvel. Anyway.
when I was studying tarot, it was like years and years and years of practice.
Yes.
Always, it was important to take a real, back in the day, we didn't have the kind of cameras we do now on our phones. So I would actually draw out what layouts I was getting for questions I was asking. And so I would write a little commentary on what I thought it meant. And then I'd look back once it happened. And it always did happen at some point. It always happened.
Yeah.
And I would look back, and sure enough, I would get the from the rear view, right? It would have happened, but always different than you thought it would.
Yeah,
that's just the way of the world. The universe always likes to be creative with what comes.
Yeah. And you mentioned tarot, which is your gift. I mean, you have your gift of receiving intuition, but you use it through the vehicle of tarot.
Yeah.
The word tarot equals 74. Gematria equals 74. So the numbers, but also the DeLorean, which I just mentioned in Back to the Future, DeLorean, that time machine car, is also 74. So again, I don't think it's a coincidence that they chose DeLorean, because it represents, it also comes to Jesus, it comes to Yeshua, it comes to Muhammad, it comes to Messiah, it comes to the word English, because that's the English language that we are talking in right now. It doesn't mean other languages are discounted, but it's kind of the universal language. So you get into tarot, you get into the DeLorean time machine car, you get into DeLorean 74, tarot 74, gematria 74. Everything is just seamlessly fashioned together. I just think I'm just always blown away when I just think about it. It's just amazing, because like you say, you trace it back and it always works out. It always works out. There's no errors. We can't maybe see everything clearly, but there's just no errors,
Yeah, we're seeing, a lot of stuff that's starting to pop up as far as timelines and reveals. If you go back to 2018, there were some 17th letter alphabet posts where they were talking about numbers, and all it had was 2 numbers. And you look into the future, and it was the same numbers that came out in a post for 10 News on Katie Hobbs and Carrie Lake, the same numbers, the win, and it came out before the election. So like you're talking about this back to the future type stuff, we're getting these reveals that are coming through. That group has been revealing for a long time what's coming in the future, and they've talked about we win going forward. But I think it's important for us, and I've said this on several shows lately, that we still need to be active. That as we were just talking about, our voice, our words, our actions start to create a vibration that manifests what we want into the future. And what we do right now will be our future. So what we're revealing, what we're revealing about, the things that the evil ones are trying to do to control humanity, we're breaking that pattern, and then creating into the future. So it's very, very exciting times, but still not without we're in a war, and there's in every war there's people that don't make it to the other side of that war, and that's very tragic. But because people are listening to us, I think they're giving the keys and the things that they need to navigate, instead of getting caught in the storm and sinking. It's very important right now.
Definitely,
yeah.
You mentioned the word future there, Michael, because obviously we've been talking about Back to the Future, but the Q post and everything else. So the word future equals 91, which also comes to liberty, which also comes to the Father, and it also comes to POTUS, and it also comes to Space Force. Nice. And so again, it's all these beautiful realities and phrases and words and numbers in this movement, in this thing that we're all involved in. They're all intrinsically linked. And so it's like, 91 is liberty, 91 is future, 91 is POTUS, 91 is the Father. 91 is Space Force. And Eric Trump, I saw him speak in Idaho a couple months ago, and I've mentioned this before, but I think it's appropriate to mention. So he's talking away and doing his thing, and this big arena, open air arena in Idaho, and at Post Falls, and and then he just slips this and he says, Space Force is the next dimension. I was like, did anyone else hear that? I was like, he just tells everyone, says Space Force is the next dimension. And then a few weeks later, his dad at one of the rallies starts talking about fourth dimensional chess, 4 dimensions. It's like, does anyone know about that? I know about that. And who knows about that? And it's like, so Eric says it just as plain as day, just slips it out. Space Force is the next dimension. That's why they can do all these things, I believe. That's why they can, if they need to swap people in and out, if they need to create a little bit, a ripple in time, or, I think anything's possible for them.
Yeah.
Well, the Space Force, I think, is kind of a distraction. Everybody thinks, oh, we're going to space and stuff like that. They're basically in charge of communications. And there's a system on this plane of existence where it's been completely captured. And we see it in Facebook. We see it not so much now on Twitter, but that's been recaptured, and it's moved to the light, moving to the light. But still YouTube and so many other platforms are still dark, and they're controlled by this dark group. All right. So they've infiltrated through the media, mainstream media, through many of these social platforms, and also throughout the militaries of the world, communications, on and on and on. Cell phones, everything. Now, Space Force has gone to a different dimension, and they control another source of communications, and so they've been watching all of this stuff at this level, know everything.
Yeah. Can we look at that, Janine? Because what Michael said there parallels it with what. So this is my hunch. This is my feeling that you got your intuition, Michael. You do your remote viewing and other things, and Janine does. But it's all intuition. It's all connect. It's all these other. And then we use a different method, but multiple methods as well. So primarily Janine with tarot, yourself with remote viewing, and intuition, and me with numbers. But it all boils down to this divine intuition. The other thing I was going to say, so the word 91 Space Force, it also equals 91 spirit. And so we're getting things from the spirit world, from the spirit realm. And obviously Janine does that all the time with the cards. I do that with the numbers. I talk about some of my past family members that have passed on and share things with me, and you get that as well, Michael. In terms of Space Force being this communicative agency, are they able to communicate in such a fourth dimensional higher way to materialize it, almost like in a Star Trek way, to make things happen, to make beings appear as and when is necessary for us to be led further down the path of enlightenment? I'm just wondering, I feel that they can, whether it's Space Force or something higher, they can almost do a Star Trek thing where they can just make things materialize. People can pop up in your life randomly and kind of notice you or say things to you and leave another piece of gold along the trail that leads you onto something else. And then they can maybe disappear. Maybe they're real people that pop up, but it just happens, the coincidences mesh, but guided. But I wonder if physically, can certain beings materialize in and out just to complete a piece of the puzzle at any given time in our lives? That's what my hunch is. That's what I feel like is possible. Wonder if you've got any thoughts on that, Mike, and what do you think about that, Janine, if the cards can delve into that for us?
Michael, didn't you ask a question before that? What was your question? You were wondering, or you made a statement, because I pulled cards on your statement, I think. Because my cards are saying, yes, Space Force knows everything that everybody's doing.
Right. Yeah, that's a statement.
So let me answer that one first. So
Yeah,
yes, you bet it knows all the secrets, and there's a big ace in the middle. And a lot of their knowing seems to come through the element of water and air, or maybe a combination. No, air traveling swiftly through water is electricity, so electric. So maybe our mind sends electric signals. I don't know, but they know everything. Like, it's scary.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because people that go sometimes that are traveling, they get really surprised by how much, if they pull you over, they know about you. Okay. I believe right now who's in charge of a lot of things secretly in the back channel is the White Hats or the Alliance. That's my belief. And somebody that was on the Truth Tour, they had a film, a fellow come along with them from Scotland. So it was, this fellow got pulled over in the airport, and they knew everything about him. They asked him about his YouTube. They asked him about his social medias. They knew everything about him.
Wow.
And it was almost like they just wanted him to know. They knew. It was like a signal to everybody else. And that signal got taken to the Truth Tour, and they let him in, into the country. Okay. So if the bad guys were in charge, I just want to say, at things like airports, why would they even if they know everything about, say, what I've been saying, why would I even get let in the country?
Yeah.
And why did this guy get let in the country? Like, something's up. But anyway, they know, to answer Michael's or to add to what Michael was saying, they know.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. So shocking revelations coming from how much they know. We're going to be shocked when the rest of the world has a revelation about what these guys have been up to for the good of humanity, not the bad. Like, because it's shocking what the bad guys have been doing. That's been shocking, say, people like us in our community for years now. But it's going to be really shocking to find out how much the good guys have been doing in the background too.
Wow. It's interesting you said as well that guy was from Scotland, Janine, because Scotland again equals 88 equals Trump. So it's like, he was from Scotland, he was from Trump. Space Force. Okay, yeah, that was cool.
Okay, I misspoke. He was from Ireland.
Oh.
I just thought you just said Scotland. I'm like, no, they were from Ireland. So yeah,
okay.
It's like Mark Atwood's film guy.
Yeah.
I won't say his name because
Oh, it was. Okay. It was
Cameron. That fellow.
Okay,
he got pulled over. Yeah, and they knew everything about him.
Got you. That's probably good for it. That would be a good thing for him to have, actually. Yeah. So Ireland is 63. That takes us back to JFK in 63. And it happened on a Friday. November 22nd, 1963 happened on a Friday. The word Friday is also 63. And if you do 63, like the year 63 plus the Friday, that's 126 John Connor, Sarah Connor, 107 Chinese elders. And we had JFK it happened just a few days ago. We had the anniversary of that. So, but yeah, could we look, see if this will add to what you've just shared about Michael's piece about Space Force. So them knowing everything, are they then able to, how did I phrase the question? Are they able to, because I reckon, that let's take Eric's example. They're on a higher dimension. They know everything. How do they know that? It's not just through computers. They know everything. It's not just, silicon is everything. Are they able to manifest and materialize as and when for our benefit along the way? Someone you might get spoken to in a shop, or someone might say something as you're walking past, and it's a word or reference you needed to hear.
Yeah, so you're saying like Star Trek, and I get that they do have another level like that it will come through in an appropriate time, and it's only beginning for them to have these abilities, Star Trek abilities from the Galactic Federation. But as we start to break free from this control system, created by the Draco reptilians, then we can be allowed to. Now it's like when I was in the military 40 years ago, we had lithium batteries, and we had lasers, and we had everybody's like, you pull your cell phone out and you say, where's the closest restaurant, and it will take you there. 40 years ago, we had satellites in the air, and we were starting to use that 40 years ago.
Wow.
We had lasers. And your car now has lasers, which it'll start to beep if you get too close to another car. At least mine does. A lot of you have that. So all these things that are starting to come out now, lithium batteries are in, Tesla cars, and that's how they can go as far as they can go. Lithium batteries, basically, when you have a battery in your toy or whatever, it starts to slow down as the battery gets low. Lithium batteries stay charged all the way till they're done, and you still get that. We were using that 40 years ago. So when I tell everybody, we in the military, we had things that were 40 years more advanced, 40, 50 years more advanced. Now you're starting to see that kind of stuff, and you just take for granted. Realize that we were using that stuff 40 years ago. Imagine what is behind the scenes right now. And it's staggering, and it's going to come through. So yes, there are those capabilities.
So I got the sun and the 2 and the moon. Okay, so I also think it comes through so I think you're right with the sun there, because that could be a big yes, but it also comes through intuitive means. So placing words in people's mouths, or somebody says the right thing, somebody's reflecting. So the moon's like a reflector. So this happens spiritually for people too, where somebody will just say the right thing at the right time. They don't even know why they're saying it. Things just come out my mouth when I'm intuitively working with somebody. I think there's also that going on. So it might not be literally people manifesting. It could also be just a random person gets chosen to manifest the right words.
Right.
So they're working in spiritual ways too, it feels like. Intuitive ways, psychic ways.
Right. Spirit 91, Space Force 91. Yeah. Excellent. Very cool. Go on, Michael.
Yeah, so just like I said with the Arizona station, that I think it was like October 29th, 31st, somewhere around there, many days before the actual election, they came out with Katie Hobbs winning by, she was like 52 to 47 or whatever. And that was like I said, that was the Q post from 2018. All it had was those numbers. So they knew what they were going to do. So when that got revealed, somehow somebody accidentally revealed that. So they had to change the numbers. So that changed the numbers on election night, I believe. They're like, we can't do that because that just got revealed. So that's why what we're doing, like we keep saying this, and I know Janine has been phenomenal on this. She talks about how she just talks it, and she's been talking this stuff for a long time. That's why they had to shut her down, because she's just breaking up their control system, and it's staggering when I look back on your work, Janine, and I have other people that are card readers. They're like, they all look up to you, and that's why, because you tapped in on such a
Queen of Ravens. She's the Queen of Ravens.
Yeah, and I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time, because I don't do the legwork.
Like, where is that coming from? I was like, okay, I'll put that out there.
You just got to trust it.
Right. And that's what you're saying. When we make that intuitive connection, that's 5D. When we start to make those connections, we start to appreciate them and allow that to come through. That's when we start manifesting that kind of reality that everybody wants. Because a lot of people are like, when is it going to come? It's not just going to come. You're going to manifest it. You are going to manifest it for yourself. If you don't, you get left behind. I'm trying to get everybody to understand that. It's, you sit back and you say, God is going to take care of me. You're going to get left behind, because God is like that one thing where I love this analogy. The hurricane's coming and somebody knocks on the door and it's like, hey, you got to get out of here. And they're like, no, God will take care of me. And then, the hurricane comes and the flood waters are rising. And then somebody comes up in a boat. It's like, hey, you got to get out of here. It's like, no, God will take care of me. And the waters keep rising. They get onto the roof, and helicopter comes They throw down a rope. It's like, no, God will take care of me. And then they go to heaven because they die. And they're like, God, I thought you were going to take care of me. Well, I sent like 3 people to like, help you out. What do you?
Yeah.
So that's
exactly.
what we're trying to help people wake up and get with the program. If you don't, you get left behind. It is what it is, I'm sorry. I want everybody to come along, but if you don't get involved, if you don't start to cooperate with God, the higher intelligence that's trying to communicate to you, and you get stuck in that dogma that's out there to control you, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. Okay. That's brilliant, Michael. I love that you said that, because it's hard for me to put it in words. We are part of that God energy. So when all those people came to try to rescue, they were working on behalf of unconsciously or consciously God, because people reaching out can be like the energy of the God consciousness or goddess or whatever you want to call it, Jesus consciousness, whatever, that higher consciousness that all of us have. And when you attune to it, it is a part of you. So this is where people make the mistake. God's outside of them and some entity that'll come, from a heavenly source and look like an angel and come save them. No, it will come in the form of actual other humans or your own action that you intuit to do. That's where the God energy comes. It's a consciousness. It's not a physical thing. And that's where I think people get mixed up.
That's beautiful. And that's where all of us, connecting, Tom through your numbers, me through my remote viewing, intuitions, and then you, Janine, through the cards, and your own intuitions as well. Because I see you speak, and you're not part of the cards, but it just comes out sometimes. So, and you too, Tom, sometimes you just speak and you're just like, oh, he's tapped in. It's cool. So you have, all these different things. And there's probably a lot of people out there have other forms of, communications that come through that are completely, each one of us is unique. So, don't discount whatever's coming through for you, because it's not like Mike, or it's not like Tom, or it's not like Janine. We're all unique, and we're all going to have our communication in our own personalized form.
Definitely. It's interesting, the things that both of you just tapped on in the last couple of minutes with that. So you were saying about God's not going to save us, we need to activate. And I was like, let's look at, so God's children, God is 26, which is card, which is game, which is flag. But God's with an S takes you to 45. You've got the 45th president. You've got Spade. It's the highest, most spiritual card in the deck. But if you do God's children is 73. We spoke about 73 earlier on in the show. Egypt is 73. But you add them together, comes to 118, which is the storm, but it's also the awakening. And so God's children, like you said, we're here, we're waiting. No, you have to interact, and you have to get going, and you have to wake up, because 118, the awakening, comes to God's children. And then you're talking about, or I had the thought about the DNA, about, someone said it to me recently. Who was it? It's in the last few days I had a conversation with someone was basically saying that, I think it might have been Jetson White actually last week. And he's saying that he felt that, because he gets revelations in stories, and he does great stuff on Tesla and time travel, but he gets this stuff through stories. And I think maybe Kathy or Rachel said, well, where are the stories from? He said, I think it's from the DNA. It's from us. It's from within. And that really resonated when he said that. And then that made me think of Greg Braden, who you know, I've been a big fan of his, and you know him. You've done shows with him, Michael. And Greg talks about the lettering code within DNA. And he says the phrase, that the literal sentence in the DNA comes to God eternal within the body, which equals 263. And both you and Janine have just been talking about consciousness and how it's all consciousness. So if you look at that, if you do God eternal within the body, 263, that also comes to the word consciousness, which is Diana Francis Spencer, 175. But the remaining value is 88. Again, Trump. The Lionsgate is 88. So if you do Trump consciousness, 263, that literally comes to God eternal within the body, 263, which is the value that Greg Braden extrapolated ages ago, or he was referencing to those scientists that have done that work. So everything is just beautifully interconnected, you know. Yeah, shout out to Greg if he's watching. But yeah, 2-6.
Yeah, he's quite the guy. So he had the God code. So you're talking about that.
Yeah.
Fantastic piece of work. And within us is the God code.
Yes.
Within our DNA, within our cellular structure. Now, something is being inserted in us to turn that off. And that's what a lot of us have been trying to tell everyone as well. So you have to be aware of that. So.
Yeah.
Right. Did you feel that as well? That I was talking to my brother about this the other night. We went out to look at the stars, and we didn't see any ships moving around per se. Maybe we didn't notice them, but we saw about 4 or 5 shooting stars in the space of maybe 10, 12 minutes. So it was a pretty cool evening. And I was expressing to him, just trying to verbalize kind of what's gone on in the last couple of years. And I've always been in this process of awakening, and both of your work's been going on for years. So you've always had this mindset. But I felt definitely when we went into 2020, there was this kind of Trump almost of like, okay, everyone's in lockdown, which was this big, huge, visceral thing that everybody in the world was noticing. But I was feeling like it, and a lot of people have spoken about this going through the age of Aquarius or the Great Awakening. President Trump talked about the Golden Age just a few days ago again. But I feel like physically, maybe we've gone through this photon belt or something actually in the you know, the sacred geometry of the universe. It feels like we've gone through an actual portal or something. And maybe I'm trying to use a few words to try and describe it, but something physically, spiritually, and consciously has shifted that, like you're saying, Michael, on the reverse of it, then maybe it's been inserted, maybe it's photon light or something going into our DNA, which is activating it. And that's why we're getting this. And then other people are getting this as well at their own rate. And the DNA, as Vishnu talks about, is getting upgraded, maybe in preparation to this, you know, solar flash event. Does that make sense? That's what it feels like to me, that we're transitioning through this different space in time, a different reality, which is kind of, activating the DNA somehow. And that's why we're getting more advanced, or I can only speak for myself, I'm getting more advanced revelations than I did 3 years ago. I was always open to stuff, but I suddenly got activated as soon as lockdown happened. Within 2 weeks, I was like, Tom numbers got created. I had no idea that was coming, you know. So
I experienced something like that for sure, what you're talking about. And it's even still happening.
Yeah.
Like the things that occur to me now that might have taken years and years of processing, and they just turn on now. It's just fascinating. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I also noticed that people that are double and triple jabbed, and I know a lot of those people, unfortunately, there's a turning off on them, and they feel like dulling. They're dulling. Some of them their lights are dulling energetically. So I feel like I really hope there's some reversal of that out there. Like some people think there is, that the Alliance has something, or there's some kind of cure for that, because I'm feeling like we're going to lose a lot of people, if not literally physically, which we have been, and I've experienced losing already, but lots of people are too. But there's a dulling down and a turning off, where they won't maybe get some of those, downloads that we're getting. And that's unfortunate.
I've got a question with that, Janine. I spoke to Mark Atwood about this, and I think you've referenced it before, and I'll be careful because we're on YouTube. I'll be careful how we say it, but what you just said about the J word, I've been thinking, because I think, said that there were some that were doing bad to people, some were doing kind of nothing, and some were maybe even doing good.
Yeah.
Are there going to be some souls that actually maybe, and I'm not telling anyone to take anything, although we know President Trump did endorse it, and also Ivanka and others, etc. There's many reasons for that. But I'm thinking perhaps are some souls, some people actually going to be boosted and activated? So I hear exactly what you said, that some are dimming, some of it's switching them off and are not as receptive. Are there some people that maybe are in a neutral position getting switched on through that very thing? seem to have experienced it with some people that have. I know that they've done that, but they seem to be catching up a bit.
Okay, that looks like you might have experienced people that haven't actually got it. So they might think they did, because that's there's shrouding with this one, and foolery, especially when it's like something's cloaked. So something's cloaked, and then this is a stop action card. So something didn't happen. And then this is a healing card. I feel like some people were chosen to get or spiritually went to the right place at the right time and got saline or something. So maybe those people are just along like the lines of how we're switching on, but they happened to get jabbed, but they didn't really.
Got it.
And that there are people, I definitely feel like there are people like that. And then I asked, is there going to be any hope for people that got the bad ones? And this is a healing card. So I feel like we can still manifest that, and especially if they're open to coming past and or letting go of connection to all those systems, if they maybe see that how demonic they are. And I feel like there's going to be something, because that's a healing card, but it's off world and or other dimensional healing. So it's something that, like Michael was talking about, the military's 40 years ahead. I'm thinking there's a lot of things out there that we haven't been privy to yet, but I think we're about to come into our awareness. All kinds of healing. I think there's all kinds of things out there. I don't know if they're technically med beds or what they are, but there's techniques certainly. And I think that'll help.
Yeah, there's definitely there's stuff out there that can help people right now. You know, I'm working to do that, but there's, like you said, Janine, it's absolutely imperative that the person wants that, because what's happening, like you're saying, some people are switching down because they've accepted basically to have their soul leave, and they either get inhabited by something else, which I've seen a lot of people starting to get inhabited, or they're gonna go. All right, that physical body leaves, the soul leaves, the physical body leaves because it can't handle what's going on in it. And we've seen a lot of that in some like recent movies and stuff. So you know, there's a lot of there's possibilities, different timelines. You know, there's always different possibilities. I say what I think is the most main probability, not there's lots of possibilities, but there's probabilities. I see very strongly some of these things, and they still don't manifest. Like, I didn't think there was going to be an election at all, and it still manifested. I thought that the stock market would fall by now and their financial system would collapse. It's still going. So there's still, you know, they still have some fight in them, and these things have to play out in their own time. And part of that is, I think, is because people are still agreeing to that system and still giving it energy. So I know a lot of people, you know, keep talking about how, you know, how many people, we can't wait for all these people to wake up. Well, you're going to have to, so to a certain extent, because they're anchoring in a manifestation that is not good, you know. So it's I'm patient, you know. I've been in the military. You won't believe how patient you have to be for some things to happen, knowing you're going to like go off on a mission and then it gets canceled, and then you go home, and then you're like, okay, go back right now. And then you're like, all right, you know. So it's a lot of that hurry up and go, hurry up and wait. So you guys, the whole world is getting, you know, what us military people have learned to adapt to over time. So for us, we're just watching, and I'm calm and cool. But a lot of people I see are very frustrated because they never experienced anything like this. They get what they want manifested, or they get what they want that way. So a lot of that, unfortunately, was that thing you were talking about, Janine, where people have gotten something into their bodies because they wanted to manifest this thing right now. They wanted to be able to stay in the job that they were in instead of manifesting something else. They wanted to manifest going to a concert because they couldn't otherwise. So all of these things are going to come home to roost for people, are coming home to roost. It's been,
and they actually They had to buy into that somehow. They're like, that's agreeing to be a slave.
Right.
A slave is forced, things are forced upon their physical bodies in order to stay alive. It's like, my energy won't agree to any kind of, like, nobody's forcing me to do anything. Soon as I'm getting pushed around, I'm saying no way, which is why I never worked in the system. I've always worked outside the system. That's the job I chose even. But so many people have never had that experience where they absolutely stay sovereign and like within the world, the way they believe they have to do that. It's like, said who? I never believed anybody, not my parents, not any kind of religious supposed knowledgeable people, nobody tells me what to do. But so many people, they can't fathom that thinking, and we're all gonna have to learn to think more like that, think for ourselves more.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. And a lot of people, look up to you because you're obviously a very beautiful soul, and you didn't get there by going along with the everybody else. No. So that's what everybody has to understand. You're going to have to break free from these. It's going to challenge you. And if you do, you keep this thing anchored in, and you basically go with that system wherever that system goes, and it's not going to go forward. Not going to go forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Those the things you've been discussing there, I think it's okay. I can say vaccination. Everyone talks about that. I'm not going to say it too much. But so going back to President Trump, when him and Melania would say, and they say it to the world, there's hundreds of recordings of it. The vaccination was done through Operation Warp Speed. And I've always been like, well, what's that? It always sounds like a Space Force kind of thing and a military thing, because Warp Speed is 107, which is Trump's, which is currency, it's Aquarius, it's Superman, and it's military. It's also Atonement. And Operation is 113, which is Trumpet, which is universe, and it's also got a connection with that 11/3 date in 2020. But it comes to 220, Operation Warp Speed. And I've always been thinking, what is that? How does that work? So what's he talking about, the vaccination through Operation Warp Speed? And vaccination comes to 111, which comes to perfection, but it also comes to illusion. So maybe there's some correlation with the reading we did earlier about it, like you said, Janine. Some maybe, through Space Force or through the higher forces, went to somewhere, did something, and then they were completely protected. They didn't receive anything. And there's someone close to me that actually mentioned that when they got their second one, it almost like they didn't feel anything. So they don't even know if they actually got it. They just did the action. Someone did something and they were like, oh, they didn't notice anything. But this is one of the people that I believe, in my estimations, I can see they're beginning to advance. They're beginning to climb Jacob's ladder. They're beginning to see more of the Great Awakening process. So I feel hopeful for them. Another thing with it as well is vaccine is 57, which is Tesla. And vaccines is 76. And you've got the whole thing of 1776. But you've also got President Trump also talks about a magic wand. He says, I guess we've got a magic wand. And I think that's a number of things. But a magic wand is also 76, which is vaccines, the plural version. And it is very confusing when you hear President Trump and Melania talking about them, but it's coding for other things. But I do, the other thing on this is President Trump is 198, the resurrection. And so I guess I believe in the resurrection as well, whether that's through Tesla, whether that's through Space Force, whether it's through divine, whether it's literally through Jesus or Christ consciousness. I believe that those things are coming. But again, I wouldn't advise anyone to, go against it and, take caution with everything. That's what I would suggest. But I think, and President Trump says the best is yet to come, 228, which is also United States of America. I think the best is yet to come. And I think me and Mark Atwood have spoken about this a few times. I believe that the resurrection is coming. Maybe we could look at that. Can we look at that, Janine? Is resurrection a real thing, and is that connected closely to President Trump? Can we look at that in the cards? Is that possible?
Okay, so I'll just mention though what was happening while you were speaking. I kept getting a really itchy palm.
Okay.
You guys know what itchy palms mean, right? And I bet it's been happening ever since I got on the Zoom here. Like,
what does it mean? I don't know what it means actually.
Okay, it's money coming into your hand, or abundance.
Okay.
And it's literally if your palm itches. Okay. And that's been happening the minute I got on this Zoom. So I think I need to just mention it. And maybe there's something coming that we're going to experience a lot more abundance. And abundance doesn't have to be just money, obviously. Abundance is like, if you have a lot of money but no health, that's not really abundance, right? Because you can't even spend it. You're just laying around in bed, right? So abundance is like a lifestyle, I think, where I think we're going to come into an abundant golden age, like people talk about on some level, and people that are willing and spiritually ready. Like, so like we've been talking about. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because that was really prominently happening. So it was like the universe going, talk about this. So how did you mention your question? Because I forget exactly how you said it.
Yes, actually as well. So just going on what you just said, itchy palm, I just looked it up. It's 107, which is Trump's, which is Aquarius, which is currency.
Okay.
Currency is 107.
Yeah.
It's military. It's quantum. It's atonement. It's Aquarius. It's Trump's. It's 20. We went through 2020, so I thought I'd mention that. So my question was, is resurrection, because President Trump was 198, calm before the storm equals 198, resurrection I should say, equals 198. So my question is President Trump intrinsically connected to this possibility of resurrection? Are we going to see that? Are we going to, as humans, because also human is 57, Tesla 57, are we going to be able to resurrect loved ones and see them come back into this universal timeline, the ultimate timeline of having everybody alive and happy together?
Wow. Okay, so we got a soft yes around it, truth to what you're saying. It's going to take time. We got work to do as humans. We have to let go of fear entirely.
Okay.
So in order to experience that, so if you think about it, the dark cult, we'll call them, or the deep state, and both of those are just two avenues of the same thing, kind of monster, I think, anyway, keeps us in fear and keeps us held back by fearful thoughts and thoughts that don't empower us, disempowering thoughts.
Okay.
Like disempowerment is the biggest thing that holds people back from what Michael talks about, which is manifesting your reality. If you can't visualize it in a positive way, you can't see it, you're never going to manifest it. And I've been telling clients that for 35 years, that when I was reading regular clients on a regular basis, right? So that if we can, and as individually we let this go, but I think as a collective we have to, because this card was above it. So on a really big scale, we have to let go of fear-based thinking. So like Michael said, we do have to wait for a lot more people to wake up, because if we want to manifest the kind of thing you just asked about, it'll have to be, because we're all connected. So we go one, go all. We can't just, those sleepers, a lot more of those have to wake up is what I figure, or have to let go of fear. And letting go of fear is one of the hardest things for humans, it seems to do.
Yeah. So another thing that can help you overcome your difficulty and breaking free is to have an incredible amount of fear, which the Q has said there will be an event that will cause the world to be in such incredible fear that they think that they will think that it's all over. So what is that going to be? Some people have said, a nuclear event, or another biological event, or whatever it is. Remember, Q has been the Space Force, however you want to see this. They see what they're doing. They see their plans. Can they stop it out? Or maybe that's something like we're talking about, Tom, is they can also see into the future. See what's coming to a certain extent as well. And like me saying, and a lot of people said the same thing, that there wouldn't be an election, but there was. Janine called it. said, yeah, there'll be an election, but it won't be so bad. So don't worry. And so some pick up, certain aspects, some pick up different. But definitely something I believe is coming to wake the sleepers up, more of the sleepers. I don't know what that is. I guess that it would be the stock market crash, but it could be a nuclear event, a threat of a nuclear event, and then kind of like what happened with John F. Kennedy with the Cuban Missile Crisis. We just went through that, remembering that 50 years ago. So there's different things that could happen. The world was in standstill during the time frame. They thought there were, Russia or Soviet Union and America were going to get into a nuclear duke out, and it would be devastating for the world. So is something like that going to happen again, where Russia, maybe something happens and Russia's like, okay, America, you're going to get it this time. So is what's going to happen? Or Europe, or is Europe going to piss them off? So who knows what that could be? I don't know. Q seems to know, because they've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
And it's, just like we were talking about, they seem to have, they know what's going to happen years in advance, and they've been telegraphing that.
Yeah. Can I tell a little story about fear and when you're really, really put in a fearful? When I was studying native medicine with a medicine man in the Haida Gwaii, a fellow named Nonkithka, elder fellow when I met him, and that was 25 years ago. But so I was studying with him magic, basically medicine. They call it native medicine. So it's not like becoming a medicine person per se, but it was like studying the philosophies that basically break down. This guy wasn't brought up in regular culture. He was taken out of his indigenous culture at age 3 or 4 and put on an island with a medicine man that's separate from the other islands of the Haida Gwaii. And he was brought up literally this with a medicine man from that time on. And so he understood shape shifting, which he did on the regular, by the way. And he intuited everything that's happening to me, intuited my son coming at exactly the age he would come. So I had a son at 42. He even intuited him into the room in one of his intuitive sessions, literally a hologram of my son at age 7. I saw what he looked like. I was 36 at the time. I told all my friends. So this is documented in me over the years. There's proof of this. Okay, this guy was incredibly magical, but not necessarily spiritual. You got to remember, with medicine people, indigenous they're not trying to be gurus or per se. You're not supposed to put them in a guru position. They're only helping you discover your own personal magic. Okay, and some of them are kind of, he was kind of an ass, actually. And we parted ways, but he was a magical and very powerful one. Okay. So you don't put them on pedestals. They're not more spirit. He's just trying to show you the world doesn't work the way you think it does. And he was showing me that way back then. There's magic in this world that makes no sense to what the world is not what you think it is. That's what I learned from him. Okay. And it was great. It prepared me for what I'm doing right now. But anyway, so in order to advance at some point in my magical training or whatever, he said, okay, what is your biggest fear? You have to tell me about your biggest fear. And my biggest fear at that time was the dark. Okay, so long story short, I was always afraid of the dark. I had to sleep with lights on. Darkness was scary. Okay, for lots of reasons, I'm sure, but lots of people have that fear. And so he took me through a whole series of events that made me face my fear. And he ended up like it was over a series of times that he would take me out on the darkest nights in the Haida Gwaii. Okay, there's no overhead lighting. It's not like there's not cities to light things up. So we would go out on new moons over a series of time, and he would drop me off at places and make me walk out in pitch blackness. And finally, on my final sort of, when he thought I was ready, and then we would have talks about it. He would meet me later. We'd have talks about it. And I would talk through the fear, and I'd have all these experiences. But long story short, on the final night, he took me on the darkest new moon. so it's pitch black, and took me to a scary spot. By then he discovered what area I was most afraid of. So there was a big cliff that fell into the ocean from there. He took me along that path on the pitch black. So if I misstepped, I'd fall down the cliff, basically, right? And it's pitch black. And he put me there, left me, and then said, I'll meet you. And you have to walk the whole path, and I'll meet you at the end of the path, about an hour away. So now he's dropped me off. It's in the middle of the night. We made sure I had a good sitter for my daughter, so I wouldn't worry, right? So just so everybody knows, I had a daughter at that time. She was being looked after by someone who loves me. Anyway, so I'm walking along the path he left to me, and I was so afraid that something magical happened, where I pushed through my fear, because I had to make it. First of all, I had a daughter to get back to. And secondly, I didn't want to die then. I didn't want to fall down the cliff, so he put me in the most scary situation of my entire life. And I pushed through it. And all of a sudden I could see in the dark. My higher self kicked in and went, no, we can do this. And it's like I broke through something through being that afraid. And I have a feeling that that's what's happening. That's what they're going to put us through.
Yeah. Good one. Good one. I would do something similar with people that would come to some of my courses in the past, where I would blindfold them and I'd strip them down almost to nothing. Sometimes nothing. It was just a guide class, but I would drum stalk. I would call it stalking. So they had to move through thick woods and not touch anything. And I would be like you're talking about, about an hour or so away, and I would beat the drum. So they'd have to come to the drum and have to move through the woods, through thick brush and stuff like that. I remember when I did it, it was like super cold. It was like crazy cold, and I'm stripped down, pretty much naked, and I'm blindfolded, and I'm like, this is impossible. It's like, and then after a few steps, I'm like in the zone, and I moved through. I never touched anything, and I went through like briars and trees and stuff like that. I never touched anything. It's like, that's beautiful. So you go through in this magical place, and I didn't feel any cold. I didn't touch anything. I'm just like, and I'm there at the drum, and it was like, what just happened? So you just go into the state of consciousness. So don't fear that, whatever's coming, and you can prepare yourself. You don't have to go through that. If something comes, a lot of us are talking about this thing coming. So many of the truthers are going to be like, yeah, there it is. I'm not going to get caught up in that, but a lot of people will. So it'll be good for them. I'm looking forward to them having that event.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Janine, when we did that reading a few moments ago, and you talked about the itchy palms, and then you were talking about the next section, and I started smiling, and then so if you do the numbers on Janine's itchy, and prior to that, I asked the question about the resurrection, and then you said, I just need to mention this. So if you do Janine's itchy palms, that comes to 198, the resurrection. And at that was the question I was asking prior. And I hope I'm not overstepping the mark here, but I just feel that perhaps maybe Jerry was giving you the warm palms, the itchy palms. I don't know if you want to have a look at that, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, let's. Yeah.
Okay.
So he very spiritual fellow. What you're talking about, my brother Jerry, who just recently passed. Yeah. Incredible person, actually. Yeah. One of my biggest spiritual teachers in a way, and I'm pretty sure I was to him as well. We shared a lot of like we'd get into a whole nother world together, discussions. Like, yeah, it always got really mystical when we got together. But let's have a look. So children. Wow. So I asked for a message for the audience from Jerry. Okay, so we've got the Three of Swords, which is interesting. Loss. There's going to be a lot of loss. And I think he's lamenting maybe, how, he left, I believe, and this is just my belief, because of the situation with the products that were pushed. And in particular on people, anyway, long story short, he had a cancer, and then so he was in a vulnerable position. So they were pushing that on him hard.
Yeah.
So he got the products and then got riddled in more cancers instead of anything good happening. Anyway, and then left really fast. So he's saying that, yes, I think we're right about being leery of those things. Some of them are lethal, and he now understands that. That looks like he understands what happened there. Okay. Yeah. But I also get, he's excited because he can help the world. He can help the world. So he's looking at new territory.
Yeah.
And he can help the world become more, know the truth here.
Okay.
Maybe from his perspective now, he's going to align and help. Maybe even myself, because this could be even me, because she's a tarot reader and a astrologer, and people like us, people like she has her little black cat, and intuitive people. I feel like he's going to help. So what was your question for him?
So my question was, because I said my question a few minutes ago was about the resurrection connected to President Trump. And then before we went into it, you said, I just need to say this. I've got itchy palms and I've had it all through the show. So my question in relation to that was, because Janine's itchy palms comes to the resurrection 198. So it was the number I just asked before you said I'd got itchy palms. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, my question was, did Jerry has he been giving you the itchy palms?
So, so that's sending messages, moving out of troubled water. So getting clarity through a message, sending. So I think he sent it to me. Yeah.
And we had the ace card in that read as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I always mention my cousin Paul, who died just prior to when I met Ivanka, and I had my first number experience. And I mention him all the time because I get messages from him, through the numbers I get through my grandparents, Eileen and Sydney, and other relations. And you and me spoke last week about in regards to Jerry, and I said, oh, he'll be one of your biggest, guardian angels now, and he's giving you messages right now in the show. So, hey, Jerry. Yeah.
Hey,
thanks
Jerry.
for being part of the show. Yeah. So
I did a singing bowl for Jerry and other people that are passing over too.
Oh, brilliant.
Beautiful. Yeah. And that's the message from him right now. So very, very happy. Wishes coming true. And I'll just say one more quick thing about wishes coming true. Jerry was always a really good guitar player, harp player, when I don't know, they call it the juice harp or whatever, but plays guitar and was really good at that, but was always a little bit shy. He's got a Pisces moon, Leo. So he's wants to be known for something, but Pisces moon underestimates themselves anyway. And I always saw that he could have been literally a famous singer. He was really good at singing and he put so much soul into it. And recently somebody, right after he passed, you always get your wishes, even if it's not how you want them to be. So another message from Jerry, you always get your wishes because that's a wish come true. He literally was sent off by the whole Haida nation. 3 chiefs came to his send off when he left the earth plane. He had huge recognition right at the end from the Haida nation, which is what he respected the most. Haida people, you got to look that up. It's an indigenous group of people that are very powerful and spiritual. And he also had a video go out that I pumped up and sent out everywhere. Some young girl that worked with him and was taught by him about the bush and the Haida Gwaii, like he would take people out. He was a teacher and he would show them nature and old growth forest and etc. She did a video about him when she found out he passed. She called it Mr. Jerry, Mr. MorigEau. She called it Mr. Jerry MorigEau, which is my last name. We have the same last name. And she literally showed him at the end singing and playing his harp. And now thousands of people have watched him play, and he was too shy to do it in public mostly, yet he was so good. So he got his wish, and we manifest and always get what we put our focus on. I think he's trying to tell us. And we were talking about that earlier, Michael, right? As we think, visualize, and intend, if we can get away from our fears and visualize what we know could be possible for the human race, we can manifest that. I think we're all learning that as a collective.
Yeah. So a lot of people will argue and they argue with me all the time. Well, I didn't want to manifest this. I was like, what did you focus on? What is most of your intention been on?
Yeah.
And they'll always have to admit that it was on the thing that they did not want. So whatever your intention is on is what you will manifest. So if you want good, you have to focus on good.
Yeah.
And I've seen that over time. I talk about it all the time. I talk about when I went through SEAL training, I saw all the guys that they wanted this, but they didn't learn how to like super focus on it. Like you were talking about, Janine, where you get pushed into those situations where you have to overcome, and they didn't do it. So you had a great intention of why you wanted to overcome that. And I did too. That's why I became a Navy SEAL. And then once I was in combat zones, I started to witness those people that were very negative, and they would be killed. All right. So you have, and that's what we're seeing now. So people have accepted negative things, and unfortunately they're being killed. All right. So that's, you don't want that. Even though you have gone down that road, there are other options for you. So you have to focus on those.
Very true. Also, Janine, you said about Mr. Morigeu. Mr. Morigeu comes to 1-1-1 perfection, and also illusion. So maybe death, as we know it, is in some ways an illusion. And hopefully we'll see Jerry back in the golden age, being the world famous guitar player. I'm sure we'll see that again. Resurrections on the cards, I think, for him for sure. I've got a question about Epstein. So I don't know if you've done a read on this, but I'm wondering, is Epstein a triple white hat? Is he, because you did the one about Tom Hanks. I did a show with 107 a few months ago, and he talked about people, characters like Zuckerberg, 16 actors playing him. I was like, well, that means, there can be characters on the good side. He's like, yep. So I'm wondering, is Epstein a white hat creation? Is he totally fictitious? Could it be a number of guys in a mask, or is he as bad as people feel?
So along those lines, a lot of people will point out that Osama bin Laden, there was lots of different characters that looked like Osama bin Laden, but they weren't.
Did you say Barack Obama, Michael?
No, Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, Barack Obama. No, I'm joking. Sorry.
Yeah, right. So Osama, basically, over time, there was all these different characters that were coming in. That was because there were different characters. So a lot of people say he was gone. Well, there was someone that was playing him, or was him, that was in that place in Islamabad, where whoever that was, whether a character, like we see some characters out there right now that maybe are working for the bad side, they could be taken. So if you're you're playing a character and you're like, well, I'm just playing a character, you're playing for the bad side, better be careful. So
it looks like he started out on the bad side, and within 6 years, I'm thinking years, sometime into it, he got flipped.
Okay.
So interesting. So he worked for the good guys.
Yep.
And did lots of good work.
Yes.
So, wow, think about it. Like think about how much info he would have had on those guys.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Still, even what he had, which was a lot, and he was part of the reveal to the White Hats and helping them gather evidence, which was and will be used in criminal courts, right? Military tribunals, so forth. But also that Space Force is doing that as well. So the Space Force has way more intel on these guys than the guys on the ground. So just think about that.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
another thing to think about, that means the White Hats or the Alliance, or all the names you could call that bunch, have been working in the background for a really, really long time. They must have known as much as the dark energies have been enslaving us. the whole time people must have been aware and working for the good. And then of course there's the spiritual energy that works for the good. I've always connected when I look at the 17th letter of the alphabet bunch, I always connect them with higher spiritual knowledge. So, that knowledge didn't just all of a sudden click into action. They've been in action as long as the bad guys and working on changing the world, I think. So yeah, things are wild and they're way different than we think. And even us truthers, we talk about, we're scratching the surface. I think there's going to be way more to this.
Yeah, definitely.
Because a lot of people have said that the White Hats were activated after the Kennedy assassination. But I'm like, no, when I look at it as a remote viewer, I see them all the way back to Eisenhower. And like you're saying, Janine, way, way, way back, thousands of years. This is war, yeah.
Yeah. So it was so we talked about Twitter and how that's now under Elon control. He's bought it. And that looks to me now that it will be, it's brought back people like, President Trump's come back to Twitter. Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, we did a piece about him a few months ago. And others, I think Kanye was off it, maybe not, but I thought I saw his name that had come back. What about other channels, particularly like YouTube? What do we see the kind of short term on YouTube? Are we going to see someone buy that out, or is it just going to start to change and become used for good, or is it going to go? I don't feel it will ever go, because the numbers on YouTube equals 109 equals the word 17 equals Zapruder, as in the JFK film. It equals Diana Spencer. So all of them. Site Club, my channel, 109. YouTube is 109. And I know Janine, despite what happened with her, has always felt that it would, it's under White Hat control. And will the White Hats allow that to start to percolate and become become a purer channel, like I'd assume maybe Twitter will become so?
Yeah, it's going to move over. So do a flip. So that's almost like a polar shift here.
Good.
It's going to do a polar shift over time, and you'll start seeing it move over for the good of the humans.
Excellent.
And it looks like it is in control of, it is now freed from, because this is a sovereign card and a freedom card and an independent card. It's in the hands of an independent sort of thinking. Like, I don't think it's in the same hands as it was, say, 4 years ago or whatever. Like, it looks like it's been switched over and it's going to work for sovereignty again, but maybe not yet, because this is a gossip and innuendo. I think it sits right now still playing out the role. Like, they have a lot of these energies, like even CNN. I think CNN's been, they got a new boss, let's just say. And I think they even literally have a new boss. But I feel like they're going to move over slowly. And it's all relating to or sort of in line with how people are, they're gauging the readiness of people.
Right.
Yeah. So, that's, I see that YouTube, as we see it right now, doesn't exist in the future. All the platform will go forward, and all of us that have had our videos taken, I think we're going to get them back. The archives of that, that's what in the future. But they are, I can vouch, they are still in the hands of baddies. All right. So and not just because they keep taking my channel down, but because they actually came into my email and telegraphed to me. So and I was like, how did you guys get in here and do that? So they're just like letting us know that they're in control of this whole network, like I was talking about, on this level. So that happened a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. So I was like, okay, they're on a different level, with their control system than I realized. I thought there might be some separation, but no. I see it in Amazon, because they attacked my book on Amazon. They attacked me through my email system, and they've attacked me through the YouTube system. And I was shut down out of Twitter until Elon Musk said he was coming back. When he said it was coming back, I got another channel. So I'm in Twitter again, and I've been posting more stuff than I ever posted before. I was like, well, see how far we can take this. And I've been like hammer it in Twitter and nothing. So that's a telegraph that is what's coming for us. I said that Elon would take over Twitter. And then when he backed off, I'm like, oh, I look bad. But it didn't happen in the right time. Just like I'm saying.
It's a long game, Michael. It's
a long game. Very good. Very good. It's a long game. People, like I said, hurry up and wait. So you have to be patient. A lot of people aren't patient, and they want to blame us because some things don't happen. It's like, that's not going to get you very far. Remember what I said about anger? People that had anger in combat zones. So, and I'm not off on that. So please, be open-minded, be loving. We're trying to help you. We are trying to help you. And look, we're doing it for free. We do all this research and we do everything, and we do it for free because people keep coming after us. Oh, you should give all this stuff away for free. We're giving this stuff to you now for free. It's our time and effort, and our love, and our intention that humanity, reaches an incredible level. Some people support us in other ways that lets us, continue to be able to do this. If you can't, or you're not involved in that, it's okay. There's people that take care of us. We're good. So don't get crazy on us.
Yeah. Long game is I just did the long game is 74 tarot gematria, and the long game is military and currency and itchy palms. The long game. So I've got a question. So I've noticed this again, but it's coming to my mind as Michael was talking. So there's a bank, Barclays Bank, here in the UK, but I believe it's probably international as well. Have both of you heard of Barclays Bank?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if it's a regular in Canada or in the US, but it's a big UK bank, and I think there's other. I think it's international. But over the last few years, I've noticed that they didn't really invest much in their infrastructure. The branches were very slow. It was almost like going back into the 1970s or 80s, and a lot of them have closed down. I've seen 2 significant branches that I knew of, and they've closed down. And also they were closing accounts and doing all kinds of things. But I just done the numbers on it, and Barclays Bank comes to 109, comes to 17. Is Barclays Bank just been taken out? Is it bankrupt? Is it gone? Or is it going to be used? Is it going to get resurrected? And will it be used for the good side? Maybe that's a couple of questions out. Maybe we'll ask the first one: has it gone? Is it bust? Because there's other banks still existing. HSB seems to be fine, but definitely Barclays seems to be on the demise, at least on the surface.
So that's a rebirth or a new gateway card, and that's justice. I feel like and this is strategy in the past. So it's a strategy that they're shutting down certain banks. They're going to be resurrected because they were the face of or deeply embedded with deep state, but they're going to get recreated. Okay. It's just. So some justice, some people at the head of them might have been brought to justice is another way you could read that. Okay. I think they're going to be resurrected because they had, and I said, why? Because they had a lot of dysfunction, right? Okay. And a lot of baddies at the head or the helm, but it does look like they'll be resurrected with these kind of cards.
Wow. Interesting.
Strategically resurrected.
And you just got a Space Force echo on the recording then, Janine, when you said that. So it seems like they're saying, and I didn't know the numbers on that until just then. So 109 is 17, and they used to sponsor the Premier League, but that was done away with a few seasons ago, and the Premier League made it so that the Premier League Soccer League, the English Football League, so that they were sponsored by Barclays for a long time. But then I remember they made an announcement, the Premier League, that they would then allow Premier League clubs to get their own sponsorship. So it was just known as the Premier League, which I don't know all the ins and outs of the monies on it, but it was interesting that it was Barclays and then no more. And then I've noticed this decay of Barclays, but I did feel that maybe it would come back, and you've confirmed it that it's going to get resurrected. So that's cool. It's the long game. We're playing the long game. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of banks that are going to go. We'll see a lot of branches and stuff go away because they were heavily involved in negative actions. So they'll just be cleaned out. But that doesn't mean the bank itself is going to go away. It'll be taken over by the white hats and the good guys. But still, a lot of those banks are corrupt. I have some sources that tell me about, they fund children, coming up the border type stuff. Big banks are funding that. So it's going to be a clean out of all that.
Yeah.
Could we go? We talked about it's Thanksgiving today, so I wonder if we can go into Thanksgiving. I know Tracy Joe would like some of us, part of the show, to be about that. So I don't really know too much history. I'm not American. I'm English, obviously, so I don't know too much of the history of Thanksgiving. And I think Pilgrims is correct. Maybe I've misquoted that, but I did the numbers on it. So Thanksgiving. Thanks. Thank is 54, which is love, which is orbs, and we get orbs in our videos. But thanks with an S takes you to 73, which is also Jerry, so Janine's brother. Egypt, we talked about that at the beginning. I should have said as well, Egyptian is 97, which is Kennedy's, which is beautiful as well. So I should have mentioned that earlier. And giving. So Thanksgiving comes to 141, comes to reincarnation, comes to Looking Glass, comes to Mark Atwood, comes to Tom Bushnell as well. So I thought that was cool. I didn't know that Thanksgiving was 141, one of the ways to say my name, because I don't really know too much about it. I know it's I've experienced Thanksgiving in the US and in the UK before, but I don't know too much about it. But any thoughts on the significance of Thanksgiving and in terms of the projection, the Great Awakening that we're going into? I guess it was probably something that was essential a long time ago. I'm assuming that, but I don't know. I really don't know much about the history of it at all.
Yeah, the Pilgrims came over Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts. They came from England because they were being persecuted for their religious beliefs. They were Puritans. So interestingly, Queen Elizabeth had in her head guy, her lead advisor, was a Puritan. So they came over, and this is what a lot of people don't know. I'm glad you brought this up because this is huge. When they first came over, they acted like communists, and they're like, okay, we're going to divide everything up. Everyone works and everyone shares everything. That didn't work out. And within a year, they're like, we're going to die. So they basically split up the land evenly. It's like, you got what you got and that's yours. And then it prospered. And then it grew and grew and grew, and actually became very profitable for England over a short period of time. So that's one of the things that we know all over the world. They're trying to move us into that direction. So if you could look at Thanksgiving, take that message right there. Is it a time of thanks, and we're giving to each other, but realize that they would have died if they went off the system that is trying to be impressed on us right now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting. My understanding of Thanksgiving, and that might be different because I'm a Canadian, so we have it at a different time, and it links to Columbus, and it links to the founding, supposedly, of North America. And then they say that they were welcomed, and that Thanksgiving was like this big celebration where the indigenous peoples, meanwhile, they were pillaging them and murdering them.
Later, but
later, yeah.
It was they
supposedly it was some big happy celebration where they brought food and shared food with the indigenous people. But a lot of people in Canada say that was false information, and it wasn't happening like that. Certainly not in Canada. And that Columbus, you better believe, probably didn't even found North America, and that was all made up. And also wasn't a good character. I mean, he was famous for being a very bad character, and we won't get into that on here. But yeah, so there's a lot of mixed feelings about it. with Indigenous people. And of course, I got some of that in my history and my background. So it's interesting. But my take on it is it's a beautiful time. And I love the idea of thankfulness. So I do celebrate it, not having anything to do with Columbus or Pilgrims, regardless what that history is, if it's real or isn't real. It's beside the point for me. I just celebrate like, wow, this is a great time to be thankful for this beautiful community we've created, for wonderful people like yourselves on the show here, both Tom and oh my goodness, I just Michael Jaco, but my mind is like, anyway, you guys and all the people that I have shows with and all the love I've been getting, I'm just using this time to be thankful. You know what I mean? So to me, it kind of turns it ugly when people all of history is a lie. So why do we have to, I don't think I'm going to go into, okay, I'm not going to celebrate it because history is all a lie. All of history is a lie. So let's just take the beauty of it, because the idea of being thankful, that part is beautiful. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but I'm going to celebrate it for Americans today, but also for the Canadians when we celebrated it, just because I'm thankful for the community, for you guys, for being on shows like this, for the viewing audience that keep us going and send us all the love they do.
Well said, Janine. Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I'm grateful for you and everything you do, and for Michael and everything he does, and for everyone we do shows with. And I just did the numbers on this. So Pilgrims is 103, which is Princess, which is September, Jack Kennedy. But The Pilgrims is 140, which is The Trumps, The Apprentice, Tom Numbers, Quantum Magic, The Military, 140, all those things, The Pilgrims. Boston, because I was in Massachusetts just a week ago. I just came, that was my last destination. I was with Mrs. Handy IU. I came over from Massachusetts. I should do the numbers on Massachusetts, but I can't think how to spell it. But this is interesting. So Plymouth Rock. Plymouth is 130, the Kennedys. And we know that the Kennedy family is from that Boston, that New Hampshire, or that New Hampshire, New Jersey, not New Jersey, New England area. And Rock is 47, which is John. But you add those together, the Plymouth Rock is 177, which is actually Top of Your Game, which is the name of the second channel. And President Trump has been making reference a few times recently. He's been saying these guys are these people at the top of their game. So I like to think maybe he's giving a little bit of a wink to the show, and the work that we will do together. And he quite often will say Tom Holman, he's on the border patrol for ICE is 17Q. Plymouth Rock and the Pilgrims. I need to research that more. So thanks for that, Mike, because I really don't know much about it. But I love the idea of Thanksgiving and giving thanks, and I've enjoyed it, and I continue to enjoy it. Can we look at that actually, Janine? I hope it's not too self-absorbent, but has President Trump been confirming or giving a wink to the work that we do when he says at the top of their game? It's not exact title. The show is called the Tom Numbers Show, Top of Your Game. And me and you did a show on your show at the beginning of this year, and you were talking about how the channel would grow, and it seems like maybe it's easier for President Trump to say something like top of your game or top of their game as opposed to Slight Club or Tarot by Janine or Michael J. It might be easier for him to say that. It's a little bit more coded, but maybe we could just look at that. Is he giving us a wink to the show?
Cool. I'll look at that in just a sec. I just want to mention. So Tracy Joe sent us all the most beautiful, sometimes I think she should be a writer. I mean, if she's not Michael, is she a writer? Because
poet.
She's a poet. Yeah. And it brought tears to my eyes because it was so truly in the feeling of Thanksgiving to me. That's really what it's about, reaching out to people that have touched you, and just beautiful words. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Did you get that too, Tom? You got that?
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, thank you for that, Tracy Joe.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So now we're asked. Sorry, go ahead.
Along those spiritual lines that Tracy's talking about, we don't really celebrate these on the level that the materialistic realm, like this next celebration, Christmas, we don't really celebrate that in that realm because it's materialistic, and that's demonic, right? So a lot of egoic, demonic, room over in that area in the materialistic side. So we do it in a spiritual sense. So like you were talking about, Janine, that's a way we should look at these celebrations, as a celebration, as oneness and with all people, because on that Plymouth, they show, I remember when I was a little boy, they told us that the Indians basically helped them survive. They taught them how to plant food, and and they brought them food because they were starving. So it was because of the indigenous population that they were actually able to survive and prosper. And then, of course, indigenous populations were very much part of America, and then eventually they got pushed out and put in concentration camps and all kind of crazy stuff. So very, very tragic. I know that happened in Canada, but you talk about Columbus. There was a Native American that basically told me all about that, that you were alluding to, Janine, and that is quite a story in itself, and where he was basically like a mafia guy when he came in. The Spanish were not good. During that time frame, not now. Maybe better. I don't know. I hear lots of different things, but I think Spanish people overall, because I've met many of them over time, they're fabulous people, all peoples all over the world.
Weren't they working on behalf of the Vatican at that time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And we know what that bunch is all about. To me, it seems Columbus might have been like working literally on behalf of that demonic crew.
They enslaved the indigenous populations. If they couldn't control them and enslave them, they killed them. In Guam, there's like they talk about how before the Spanish came to Guam. I was in Guam for many years, and I knew the Guamanians, very beautiful indigenous people. So they talk about how there was like almost 1 million Guamanians. That's hard to believe, because I don't think there's that many on the island still. And then the Spanish came, and they're like, you're going to go to work and you're going to do this, and the Guamanians are like, no, we're not. And then they like just decimated them. So decimate them down to a few thousand. But fortunately, they were able to build themselves back up. So they have that strong independence that you do, Janine. And as we can see going forward, that's going to be very important.
Yeah. I think everybody doing work like what we're doing has to have that. Yeah. If you look at our backgrounds, there's a similarity. And when I met everybody that I met at the Truth Tour, I felt a real kindred. There's an underlying, and I'm sorry I didn't meet you, Michael, because I missed that one. That was unfortunate. But
I slip in and I slip out because they target.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll figure it out another time and meet. But I met Tom in person, and there's just this similar energy underlying. And not to say we're all very different, but there's even though we're coming from all over the world, there was this similarity of we all come from something basically ties us together, which is independence in spirit, and we're not programmable, and that part everybody's going to have to learn. And that's why I think maybe we're being watched right now, because we're going to teach that. Maybe, I hope so. Anyway, I want to teach that to people, because that is something I do know how to do. And I'm not programmable. I'm not going to be programmable. I refuse to believe I'll be programmed. And if I can show others how to just stay strong like that, and I see you doing that, Michael, and also you, Tom, there's that we have in common, and brings us together in the community, and a lot of other truthers out there that we all watch,
Definitely. Yeah, I got to Tampa just very briefly, Michael. I will definitely see you soon in the flesh, I'm sure, next year, next year. That will happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, I need a picture with Michael Jaco. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
and Tracy Joe too.
Great.
We'll get the three of us. We'll get the four of us together. Yeah.
Right on. I loved US, by the way. The US, I was like, wow, I could live here. I liked it.
Nice.
I got to tell you, there's an energy that's different.
Yeah.
It's got a different energy.
There's multiple energies. I can always feel when I'm in America, but some of the places I went with I was picking up on other energies as well. Like, because it's like you're in, I don't know, you can have mountains, beaches, islands, cities, the outback, marsh, everything, all kinds of places. It's incredible. Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to look at the cards there, Janine, or shuffle them
again?
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I'm off topic. What was the question again?
It was basically, is President Trump giving a soft kind of wink to the work we do on the show? And he says things like Tom Holman, and then 3 seconds later he said, these people are at the top of their game. So I wonder if he's just giving a soft reference to, the shows that we do together.
You're getting a message from him.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, he's shouting it out. You bet. That's in the past. 9. So it might even be also shouting out that he's getting closer, because this is getting almost finished something. Okay. Maybe he's getting closer to being able to openly, because notice how he's really openly been nodding to 17 lately.
Yes.
Right? I feel like he might openly nod to the truther community too. We're getting really close to that, where Wonderful. He could openly talk about. It's not quite there yet, though. We're we need one more wand here to get there, but I feel like he'll openly, maybe even nod to certain people that have been doing good work. But he's already started doing that with the 17 group.
Wow. Well, thank you, President, for that. That's awesome. It's always really encouraging when we hear the nods, and it's amazing. Yep. It's beautiful. Did you have a final question, Michael, for Janine for the cards?
No, it's getting close to like my feast time.
Dinner time. What have you got? What have you and Tracy Joe prepared? So turkey, stuffing. What pumpkin pie? What not? Sweet potato
pie. We got peach cobbler. Those are desserts, and of course we got the spiral ham and turkey. Yeah. I think garlic mashed potatoes and probably some green beans. I don't know everything. Usually I get surprised at these things, so I like it. So
do you get marshmallows?
We'll have the feast, and then because we get all the tryptophan from the turkey. We'll probably get a little sleepy maybe, and then come back and eat on it later. But we have this, so I'm looking forward to the sandwiches afterwards, because you always have great sandwiches, for like weeks later.
Yeah, a week later, and lots of gravy. I hope you have gravy.
Oh yeah, we got the gravy too. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Tell Tracy Joe to expect us.
All right. Yeah.
We'll be around in a few. We'll be around tonight, right? Yeah. We'll be around tonight. We'll teleport over. Great. Do you get marshmallows in any of that stuff? I think I've had marshmallows at Thanksgiving, or is that something else?
Yeah, that's another one. That come on like the pumpkin pie or sweet potatoes and marshmallows on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had Thanksgiving dinner. So I was in last week of my trip. I was with Mrs. Handy RU, so Kathy and Bob, and they're in the Janine's met Kathy on the show. We did a show last week together with Rachel, and so they did a Thanksgiving dinner the night I got there, or the day after, and we had sandwiches for about 5 days. But it was also I was like, we went out to eat a few times, which was cool, but I kept going back to the leftovers because that was the nicest stuff. They were brilliant cooks, and I just kept enjoying the Thanksgiving dinner diet. So yeah, it was wonderful. Nice. Any concluding remarks or thoughts or wishes, Janine, that you want to share with everyone before we say adios for this evening?
Just sort of repeat what Michael was saying about steadfastness, patience.
Yes.
I was blessed with a lot of patience this lifetime too. So I didn't come by it in the rigorous training, obviously, that Michael, he came by his, the hard way. Somehow I came here to the earth with that. And I just really feel good about our future, and we're going to manifest it together. And we really do need to focus on understanding that we're manifestors and that our energy is going to, that's how we're saving ourselves. You know what I mean? We're going to manifest it largely by not fearing and visualizing and intending a new world for ourselves.
Definitely. And patience, I just did the numbers on patience, 73. So that takes us back to Egypt. We started off with the Vonka and the pyramids. And I'm sure I've got this right, though, but your brother, Jerry, is with a G. Is that right, Janine?
Yeah.
So his name is also 73, patience. So you've been blessed with a lot of Jerry, a lot of patience. So it's a nice way to say over and out for this time. But yeah, patience. And I guess in concluding, when I watched the show with President Trump about 10 days ago, and me and you spoke about it afterwards, and we thought it might be something. But as I look at it more and more, it just feels like the beginning. I know we've gone through this, 2 3/4 years now, and we're thinking it's kind of bigger. And we may still have those big major events. I think we do. I think there's going to be a combination of shock, of celebration. But really, in my opinion, this feels like the beginning of the golden age, of the millennium, 1,000 years of peace. And when President Trump said a few times, he said, we're really just at the start, we're really just at the beginning. But I think that's a joyous thing. It's not like a kind of, how many we've got going for this for years and years. I think it's just going to get incrementally better and better. And I think there will be some quantum jumps and quantum leaps along the way where we just kind of all jump up together and advance. And so, but patience is key. Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm. I've learned that through the years as well. I was far more impatient when I was younger, but I think I've been seasoned, hopefully enough for patience. I think so. So, well, thank you both of you. God bless you both. Sending love to Tracy, and enjoy that Thanksgiving dinner, Michael, and to you as well, Janine. Whatever you've got planned for today, enjoy, and sending love to you and the rest of the Morrigeau family, and to Jerry, and God bless everyone. Thanks, viewers. And again, let's just reiterate. So Janine's channel, the full name as Janine is known. So TBJ, but the full name that she's known by .com. And then michaelkjaco.com. Is that right, Michael?
That's correct. Thank you.
There you go. So the links will be below. And also Janine will be on with Jean-Claude later today on Rumble on the show there. So check that out. And we'll put the links below. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, just double click. And even if you are, double click, just check, because we're playing a funny game sometimes. So all right, everyone, God bless. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Michael, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.